Hey guys! So I'm starting another tiny arcade build, and I thought I would go into a little bit more detail this time than what you normally get on the Zach Scott channel videos as far as how I go about building a tiny arcade. So the first thing that I normally do is I'll end up doing a bunch of Google image searching, trying to find whatever shape it is that I'm trying to scale down. For this particular one, I am going to emulate the traditional pac-man cabinet, which has more square sides, and the screen, instead of being straight up and down, is at an angle like this, so you're looking down at the screen more so than looking straight at the screen. So once I find some images of like the side of the cabinet, I'll go into Illustrator and I'll make a template. That allows me then at my work I've got a large format printer, so I can print off to scale templates of these things. You could also do the same thing on a home printer, just setting it to tile and then taping your 8.5 by 11 sheets together. So once I have my template, I then can check to make sure that the netbook will fit inside of the opening that I've made, kind of finalize all my measurements, and then I start transferring it over to the wood. And then once it's transferred over to the wood on these upright cabinets, it makes it really simple because all of the pieces except for the sides have to be the same width. And so for this one I went with a 12-inch width on all of the pieces. So then it's just a matter of cutting your sheets down to 12-inch strips and then measuring out all of your different pieces and angles and then cutting them accordingly. So then you end up with two piles. You end up with your side pieces and then all of your other pieces that are cut. It's important also when you're doing all these little cuts to label them, because as you're putting it together it just makes it go a whole lot faster if they're all labeled. I label stuff with what side is the inside, what side is the outside, and then which is the sides and which is the top and the bottom. So then once they're all cut out, the next thing I'll do is I use wood glue and then use a air compressor with a small nail gun. For MDF, you've got to use a really tiny little finishing nail, because if you used a big nail it would start spreading it out because it's only a ½ inch thick, so you got to use small nails. So that's basically all I got done on this step. Oh, the netbook though, I have the netbook and I'll show you. Here is what it looks like before I start taking it apart, and this is what it looks like afterwards. You can see it, there's just some screws there. You just unscrew the top pieces and those two pieces of plastic come off, and then there's just a couple screws that hold the screen onto the netbook itself, and you just have to remove those screws as well. And that's pretty much all the undoing I do on something like this, because, well, with a netbook, if you started taking it apart more, you're just making a bigger mess of all the electronics than the small compartment it's already in. So I typically leave the base all together because I still have to hook in the USB. I've got to hook in the iPad controller, which controls all the controls. I've got to hook in the lights, because I make the lights, the LEDs for the lights that light up the little coin slot. I pull the 5 volts from one of the USB slots, so I do that. And then I also have to hook in the speaker, because I use a larger speaker so that you can hear it better, because I found after a few builds that the netbooks just aren't quite loud enough for my liking. So I like to make them a little bit louder. So that's all I got done this week. Next week I will be putting the back hinge on the door there so that the door is hinged. I'm hoping that the joystick comes in next week. I have all the parts except for the joystick. It was coming from, I think, China or Japan, and it hasn't arrived yet, and I can't really cut out the arcade joystick and button area until I get that, to make sure that it fits perfect. So once I get that, then I can cut those out and install that, and then it'll be painting and installing the screen in the netbook, and then putting all the decals on, and we'll have a finished build. So hope you enjoyed this, and check back next week. Hopefully the joystick will be here and I'll have some more updates for you.